Going on, guys? Tuesday night live, as we do every week. Got a great show planned for you. This is your first time watching this show. Just give you a little format. We are talking about comic news for the week. We pick 3 or 4 items, and we have a panel of YouTubers, comic book website authors, and we all offer our opinions on the topic. And we have some great topics. But before we get into that, I want to bring those panel members in right now. I'm starting with a guest. Although he's a recurring guest now because he's back for another week. We have from Tales from the Flip Side channel, Brian McClay. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, it was so much fun. I had to come back for a second time. Thank you, brother.
Always appreciate you on there. And he always offers great opinions. But the next one we're going to bring on, you guys might know him from Dank Comics YouTube channel. We have Dan Kim. Dank, what is going on?
Good to be here with everyone. Ready to do some hot takes, hot flips, hot takes.
Yes. All the YouTube greatness, all the website author goodness. We have another YouTuber and website author in the next one. Check out his YouTube channel, Renovision, and check him out at comicbookinvest.com. But we have Peter Renna.
What's going on, everybody? And what's going on, fellas? Looking forward to talking about this stuff again this week. Had a week off last week, so I'm happy to be back.
We have Mr. Producer himself. He is selling on Whatnot. He has a great YouTube channel. He's got a YouTube giveaway going on. And Andy King, you know him as Count Man. Andy, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? Hey, you announced being half your viewers left. All right, we're off to a great start.
We're always good. They're coming into the chat right now. We have one other panelist. He is backstage right now because it is summertime. People get in later, so he is getting nourished. We will bring him in a little bit. That is Blue Green Artifacts or Tony Fixed. But we have some great topics, and we're going to get right into them. We actually switched this topic out last minute because so many people were talking about it. This is a topic that has come up years ago as well, but it always seems to come up again. I think summertime, people getting back into the comic book stores after COVID. This is starting to become a topic. Even CBR is reporting on it. Tony, if you want to bring that picture up. But a lot of back issues now. People are going to the comic book stores and there's signs being posted like, hey, due to the nature of speculators, LCSs are reserving the right to check and reprice the books of back issues according to current value. This is a polarizing topic. I've seen a lot of people talking about it on Instagram, and we're going to talk about it right now with these panel members. I'm going to reserve my views and react to you guys, but Brian McClay, you guys just talked about this as well on your channel, right?
Yeah, this has been a big topic over at Flipside. Even when it originally came out, the original picture of this, which is a really funny picture. He did this crazy font on there to make it look like all cool and stuff, but he's just telling you something really shitty.
Hear ye.
Yeah, and so. What I really liked is the responses that some of the people had in the forums and the comment sections and Facebook and wherever, IG, you know, people talking about bringing up, I'm going to go to that store and bring up 40 books and have them look up every single one and then walk out.
Just bring a run filler.
Yeah, I'm just going to walk straight out or you know, that good speculators and good flippers are going to go in there and find all the books that aren't on eBay. So they can't find them, right? So, or, you know, different sides of the story, but my favorite ones. Yeah. Well, my favorite ones are the ones where the people are like, it's their right, their business. They could choose whatever. Well, duh, that's obvious. But if they want to stay in business and sell comics, they're not going to do that. People go to the comic store to find good deals in back issue bins, period. On back issues.
El Beardo.
Ooh.
And also, have you guys witnessed this at any of your LCSs? I say any. I have one. So, and my LCS would never do that. Third Eye Comics. But I also say Third Eye Comics is pretty smart to begin with. So they kind of know what they have in their back issue.
My local comic shop is Jesse James Comics, and what he does is really cool. It's all in his head. Like he'll pick up you bring up a stack of books, he'll start putting them in stacks, and he'll be like, these ones are $2, these ones are $3, these ones are $5, and you're getting a deal, you know, on books. He's selling books. But another shop that I've been to in the Valley, a couple of them. You'll take books up and they'll look on eBay, even though they have prices on them. Some of them, they'll still look on eBay, which drives me crazy, but you know, it is what it is. The thing that drives me the most crazy is when it goes beyond back issues and they think that you're making money off of them and you're flipping new issues. So they won't sell you new issues, you know, anymore. because they think you're flipping. And there is a local comic shop that does that here in the Valley too, that drives me absolutely crazy. So I haven't been in that shop in 2 years because of it.
But what's the difference? What do they care if you take the books and go outside and burn them? Like, you have the new issues marked for a reason to sell them, right? Like, I don't know. That's just insane to me. But don't want to jump the line.
I've got 3 or 4 levels of experience with this, and pretty much like every LCS that I go to utilizes eBay now. It's so prolific where I live. There's one that doesn't, and that's simply because he doesn't have the manpower and doesn't like want to spend time monkeying around with that. The LCS that I go to weekly, that I buy my books from a regular now, what they do is they actually take ratio variants and hot variants, standard A covers, B covers, cover price. Everything's cover price for the first week, but your ratio variants and your high-end variants, I don't know, you get any higher than the ratio, but special order stuff,
one per store, stuff like that.
Yeah, they will go to eBay and they will take the eBay price, knock like 30% off of that, and that's where their price lands. So I'm still getting a good price, but I don't feel like I'm getting as good of a price as I did 2 or 3 years ago when a ratio variant was priced at ratio price. 1 in 25 was $25. 1 in 50 was $50.
I think a lot of that also started with actual retailers, the bigger retailers selling ratio variants for above ratio. Your Midtowns, your DCBSs, your, back in the day, ratio was ratio. And we've talked on our channel. I know, Brian, you've talked on your channel. Everyone here with the YouTube channel has probably talked about this, where it's gotten crazy. It's like, and it was also an easy way for you to scroll down the new listings and be like, oh, that's a 1 in 25, because it was normally at ratio. And now it's like, oh, that must be a 1 in 50. Well, it's a 1 in 25. They're selling it for $54.
So most of the LCSs I go to are actually way out of town for me, like an hour or more drive. So I only have 2 here, and I'll get full circle to the upper tier one that I want to talk about. And one of the LCSs that I go to that's an hour away uses eBay frequently, but has so much stock in his store. Once he eBay prices it, he leaves it. So I can use those trends. I can still buy on the dip, or if he prices a book when it's on a dip, like I got a near mint plus Marvel Team Up 141 newsstand for like $60 a couple months ago. Near mint plus. That book in a 9/8 going for like $1,600, I think. $1,500. It's well over $1,000 for a 9/8 if I remember correctly. So there's that route that I can go. Now the last LCS in my town that I don't frequent, but I occasionally go to just to see what's going on, he is the guy that you will grab books for. And he's like, hey, hold on, man, that's the hot book for the week. I gotta check eBay. He's also the store that when you walk into, your phone mysteriously loses all ability to connect to anything. And there's no explanation for
Faraday cage LCS.
It's horseshit, because right next door in the convenience store, I got full reception. But when I walk in there, so it's fishy. It's really fishy. That's also the guy, though. He's a one-man operation. So he will look at hot stuff for the week, and he will price things based on eBay prices. He's also the store that I walked into and found Excellence #1 third printings for cover price, and found plenty of them. And that was like a non-existent book on eBay, because McClay, like you were talking about, non-existent on eBay, and somebody was setting the market at like $60 or $70 per copy for that. Excellence is primed, in my opinion, and I love looking for copies of that. I digress. So I get this full myriad of this different levels of this whole eBay experience that's extremely frustrating. I get that my LCS is doing what they can to stay in business, and they're doing really good at it, and at least cutting people a major break off of eBay prices, but the trends for those books are still being set by eBay. Yeah. And it's by so essentially they're basing their prices on opening day for some of these high-end variants off of pre-sale prices. Because once the market gets flooded at the secondary market, once those books start entering, almost always with those variants or a lot of the other books that hit, or the hot book for whatever everybody's trading for, it drops, right? Every Wednesday, there's going to be a dip when the book hits eBay or it gets into people's hands almost every time. So a lot of the variants are a 50-50 shot for me that I'm buying for my collection. I'm like, I'm probably going to have to eat 20 or 30% on this. I digress. Let's move along. But there's like 4 different layers that I've noticed. It's not just somebody checking eBay anymore. It's being used in many different ways.
Tony, well nourished and here to join us. What are your thoughts? Yeah, you got a little spaghetti on your lip.
Okay. How's it going, guys? It's good to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks for letting me chow a little bit first.
always.
Nice hat. Like
Yeah.
the hat.
Yeah, gotta love it.
I love those hats. Let me give a quick funny story about those hats. So, Dino got those hats made, but he didn't realize he was buying child sizes.
Oh no.
So they're pretty tight. They're pretty small, but it looks good on you, Tony.
Can you bring Tony up in a single window just so we can get a bigger? There we go.
Got the little Monopoly man going.
Yeah.
I need
Nice.
one.
Shout out to one of the comic community's favorite, art design guys, Emiliano. He did a really good job with that.
Miliano's great. Miliano's the one that's designed most of my graphics as well. So great guy.
Wow.
Good dude. There's a couple of them. Him, Eric Hurd. There's a couple guys out there just doing really good stuff.
But yeah, Tony, what's your thoughts on
I heard
and we got some great comments in the chat going on as well.
I heard the topic and I had to eat really quick because I got something to say, man. No, you got to look at all sides. Of course, the comic stores are one of the most important things in the whole food chain of comic books. If we didn't have them, if all we had was direct internet retailers, everything would be different. So we need them. We need them to make a profit. They're going out of business all the time. We have to understand that. But anybody who has any other kind of background in retail, and most of us doing other forms of retail with comics, realize that
I didn't see Target price checking toilet paper on eBay. 3 months ago.
I have 1,500 listings on eBay right now. So if somebody buys something from me, can I say, hold up, wait a second, I think there's somebody who just sold one for $20 more. So I'm going to change my price to that one and screw you. You can't do that. You can't do that. There's ways around it. But you got to embrace the people who are doing that. Those are the people who might buy 25 copies of a cover A from a pre-sale from their local comic bookstore. You have to look at those customers as being on the same team.
Yep.
And yeah, they might come through and pick 12 underpriced keys, but 6 months from now, there'll be different underpriced keys. They're still there. I can go downstairs in my own long boxes and pick out 20 books. 3 months from now, I can pick out 20 different books. The market changes. Those hot books change all the time. If they're really worried about it, if I had a store and I didn't have enough time myself to dig through my own long boxes, and I get it, nobody has that amount of time, hire somebody. You got a couple of people who love to hang out in the store. Say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you $20 of store credit a week. Can you go through and you watch all the YouTube stuff, right? Can you go through and pick out books that you think I should have up on the wall? They'd be like, yeah, absolutely. No problem. There's ways around it without cutting off your own arm, really. It's just, it feels like a punch in the face as a comic book buyer.
Yeah, and I mean, I sell some comic books on my site, and I've had some where they don't sell because when they were priced, it was priced when they were kind of a little bit higher. But I also sell books that were like, crap, I didn't realize I had that listed on there for so cheap. But usually I just put in a note, hey, great buy. Glad you saw this type thing. Because that's also going to bring you a return customer. And there's a difference between the back issues that we're talking about here and new releases is a separate problem. I don't agree with checking the eBay prices, and I don't agree with, hey, release day raising the prices for a cover A type book. We've had that discussion too, where retail is not the secondary market. But I think I agree with Tony's point. I agree with a lot of points where, it's kind of your due diligence. It's kind of you don't want to bring something up to the register. If you're going to be eBay, what's going to make me come to your store instead of just staying my ass at home eating Cheetos and buy off eBay?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've got one store in town that does that. I've been there once because it's why, why, unless I'm finding books that haven't yet popped on eBay, which, there's that too.
Ooh.
But it does seem like a waste of time because I can just look online.
Yep. And like I said, there's a lot of great comments coming into the chat. And I know this was, like I said, we replaced our original first topic because this is one that I think this group would be great to discuss. And we've seen other people talking about it. And it's not the first time this has come up. I mean, we've seen this a few years ago. It kind of always comes back around. But it is one of the first times I've seen like CBR kind of post about it, which kind of caught my eye as well.
Well, and then that original post on Instagram got taken down. Somebody somewhere reported it, and there was nothing in the IG agreement that I can think of was wrong with that post, and somehow they still reported it and got it taken down.
Yeah.
I don't see how. So there's two schools of thoughts, right, to me. One is, and I think this is the best way to do it. It's just how you run your store. But the best way to run a store, in my opinion, that I've seen, even, this, again, I'm spitballing. I don't own a store, so I don't know. But the guys that are constantly buying stuff to flip, just get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out. And they're creating those customers because those customers are getting decent deals. I mean, they're paying a decent amount, but they're getting deals. I mean, 30% of eBay, 30%, you know what I mean? That type of thing. And they're just constantly flipping books. They're just to the next collection. Let's get the next collection. Let's get the next collection. And customers are happy because they can go in and flip through new stuff. It isn't always the same stuff. But, that's one school of thought. The other
Old
school
ass
of
bags
thought,
and boards.
yeah. The
Oh
other
my,
school of
yeah.
thought is to look and stay current with what the hot books are. There's so many places to do it. I mean, there's so many websites, channel, apps to do it. If the collectors are doing it, you should be doing it too. If that's how you feel on it. If you're really that get off my lawn shop owner, then you should be staying up on that stuff too, because the collectors are.
Right.
Dan.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a matter of short-term thinking versus long-term thinking. I mean, let's say I had a friend that used to sell things that were illegal, and let's say this friend would sell it for like 30% off the retail, and per period of time, you're selling more per hour, and you're actually making more money than a person selling it at the highest value or whatever. So long term, you just end up making more money that way anyway. And part of the point of you ever going to any other new LCS ever is for the hunt. It's like for the joy of the hunt. And if you start doing this, there is no joy in the hunt. It's gone. And long-term thinking, again, like there's going to be market corrections. So it's pretty lame, like, to do that to keep with the prices. And yeah, I don't know. And also, like, you're getting a business discount to sell at retail because you're a business. So you get the business discount on the books in the first place, because the idea is just to sell it at a retail, price or whatever. And when you go above that, it's kind of like it just, no, it doesn't smell right, And and I've seen people like go for the money, short-term thinking, and pay for it in filmmaking, especially in filmmaking and relationship building, looking at short-term returns and really suffering later. Like I've faced my own crucibles this way, and I've chosen not the money, but like loyalty or whatever. And people thought I was naive for it because of capitalism or whatever. And I'm not anti-capitalist, but I'm just, and but then like 10 years down the line, they'll tell me like, oh yeah, right, actually, and because they all got screwed. Like everyone gets screwed because you think that's cool. Wait till it happens to you, and then you have to eat shit because you're guilty of it. You did it too, so eat it.
I personally
Karma.
think people like Tony over here, who sells 15,000 items on eBay, they should look out for all of us other comic book buyers, and they should just short sale everything on their eBay site for really, really cheap. So when I go to a comic book store and they're doing that, I get a good price on the books I want.
Well, here's a great topic really quick that we got to touch bases from Swaggle House, Brian, because You and Jack had this exact conversation about 2 years ago about return customers and moving inventory. I mean, almost to a T. And Swaggle House has hit it nail on the head here about repeat customers and winning those customers over and keeping them. So this is case in point. Just somehow, like the comic book market's gonna ebb and flow. Then apparently this eBay thing is ebbing and flowing too, because this is dead nuts on.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, it's been coming up before, and it brings up a great point. You know, I don't know the story either, but you would think a loyal customer that's going to keep coming back is better than a one-time purchase. I will say this: at least they're nice enough to put a sign up for you to read before you hunt and take it up there, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most places don't do that.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
It's
the
one of
sign
those
is
shops where you
helpful,
just
but I can
walk
leave.
in and you flip around and walk out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me share really quick
on the
the other
sign,
side.
right? No kidding.
Let me share the other side of the coin of this that bothers me about the guy at the LCS that I've gone to that's in my town. I go to occasionally to see what's up. Is that he's pricing his books off of eBay. You know what he's doing though? When he gets his books in that night, that Tuesday night, and he's looking at social media and he's seeing what's hot, he reduces his order amount. He cuts what he puts on the shelf and retains most of what he ordered behind where people can't see. So that on Wednesday, he's selling books at cover price. But then several hours later, I sold out, man, but I've got one more copy back here. This is going to be $25.
You know,
Yeah.
I have less of a problem with that though, because you know, I was talking to Phil from Vintage Comics and Toys. We were talking about if we had an LCS, what's the best way to run it? And nowadays, really, an LCS should be an inventory place for your online business with the door for customers off the street. Like you can't hope that enough people walk through your door that you're going to pay bills. Really, you have to diversify. You have to sell online. You should be selling on Whatnot. There's some really smart retailers right now killing it, getting rid of their filler comics on Whatnot or doing live sales. You should have a presence on eBay. Dennis Barger is on Amazon all over the place. I understand, you know, as that guy, the person who walked, like you said, if you walk in 2 hours after the shop opens and there aren't any copies, you know, it's a little bit of a gut punch. But if your LCS also runs, you know, the pull box, you can pre-order anything you want from them on your phone. Like there's really, there shouldn't be an excuse to not get the books you want. So I know what you're saying. That if I missed out on a book that I wanted because of that, I wouldn't feel great about it. But I believe that's more of almost like sadly, kind of a smart business practice than the whole my prices changed.
It kind of boils down to though that cover price books need to be cover price on Wednesdays at least for the day. I know my LCS honors them for a whole
needs to
week.
be on the day, at least like the week of release, right?
Yeah, my LCS honors the first week, but this one shop where the guy that he's struggling to stay open is he's the guy that will I magically filled my pulls and I only had 5 copies for the shelf, but then he'll pull another 20 out from behind as the day goes on and people are looking for it and asking for it. And it's like that's just
I hear you.
That's underhanded. That's why he's not going to lose business.
Well, in spite of being underhanded, just how many people are going to go back?
Yeah.
If I go to a shop and they don't have the books I'm looking for, I have little incentive to go back because like they never have the books I'm looking for because they're never there. Or if, they have it there, but for some reason it's $25, I'm not going to buy that because I'm not that desperate. I don't have that much FOMO where day of release, I didn't get it. I was like, you know what? I guess that title's just not for me. Or I'll wait for the second print or the fourth print or the fifth print or the other print that everybody's going to be chasing 3 months from now instead of that book and just be patient.
I'm going to put an AF-15 facsimile in a top loader and put it up by the register for $2,000.
And the back issues are different. If you can't keep up with your back issue inventory, then just throw it in dollar bins. There's a reason why I shop in dollar bins. It's because I know what the price is. I don't work at your store. I don't want to do your job for you and bring you all of the good books in your back issue bins so that you can sell them for a premium. If you want those prices, you need to do the work and go find them. Keep your things in order so you can find them easily. Price your own stuff. It's not that difficult. And if you don't, you can't change prices. If I go to a grocery store and they start individually pricing each banana I brought up, I'm not going back to that grocery store.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I don't.
Well,
part of the fact,
pretty
I don't
soon I want to
have
know when I can do pickup parking at my LCS.
Like, who has the time to wait for them to go through like a stack of books and individually price them all? And like, you expect me to wait like 35 minutes while you price them all to give me a final price? Or are you going to tell me each book so I can tell you yes or no? So I got to stand up here with
that
you
tells you everything
the whole time.
You need to know about the LCS right there, because if they're doing that and there's a busy LCS, then they're backing up the customer line. People are going to leave. So the stores that I see doing that are ones that don't have many customers anyways, so they have the time to research that on eBay.
Yeah. That's
you know,
funny.
maybe we should put together some content as a public service for the store owners. Like, give them some ideas on how to set up your stores nowadays. What kind of things we should see in a modern comic shop. I mean, a lot of the comic shops are stuck in the early 80s, to be honest.
Yep.
You know, have some snacks, dude. Have
Darwinism,
some tables where
man.
people can play Magic the Gathering. You know, get one of those bubble tea things. Hell, you know, specialize in a niche product for your area. If you're the only guy selling statues, you're gonna get statue people coming through locally.
Yeah, and your LCS is gonna start needing to hire a guy for social media to run whatnot, to run IG, to move all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
LCSs could be making so much more money if they actively had somebody working towards that avenue.
As every single person walks through the door, get them signed up for your diamond pull box so they can pre-order on their phone anytime.
Yeah.
We're forming a consulting firm right now, right?
Right. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of shops that need it, really. They want to make money, but you know,
I need that
that
diamond pull box for my LCS because I'm still doing everything manually, and because I'm still researching using Brian's information, other YouTubers' information, I'm still doing it manually. I missed out on the Stray Dogs Crow, the second print of 5. I missed out on that last night. Final order cutoff was yesterday, and I'm not going to get a copy now because it's going to be gone.
You know, the sad part is that most of those stores that act like that do that, they're also the stores that are talking shit about all the other stores that like are good stores. Like, I don't know what it is, but that is rampant where I live, where the one store, I was funny when you were talking about how a store should look, Tony. You're talking about my local comic shop. You walk in, it's got all these tables where kids are playing Magic the Gathering. It's got a huge snack and food section. It's got pinball machines and old school arcade on the other side of the store, and then just comics everywhere that you can look at. Right? Yep. It's one of the best stores in the valley. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely amazing. And it's also the store where you go in and you're constantly seeing new product, and the guy is constantly buying collections and selling and reselling them, just getting them sold quick. But everybody likes to, for some reason, talk down on the guy. And I'm like, after knowing the guy, I'm like, I never see anything. So it has to be that type of thing. That's the type of store owner that does all the things, the bad things we're talking about. They're the same store owner that talks trash about the good store owners, which is even worse.
I do want to give a shout out to Drew Zucker, the artist of Cantos, dropping in the chat right now. I'm just going to say it right now, even though we're not on the picks of New Comic Book Day, but Canto 3, Lionhearted #1, hits store shelves tomorrow. And check out the channel 4. I just had a great interview with David Booher and Drew Zucker talking all about it with the #1 Canto fan herself, Lala Schultze. Sorry, Andy. Lala beat you out for the Canto.
Oh, I don't mind being number 2. There's no way we're beating her.
But Peter, moving this along, I think we've I don't want to say beat the dead horse, because I'm sure that conversation.
Yeah, we got to wrap up.
Come back again.
Yeah.
Another time.
One final thing about the sign. Why does the sign say speculators?
Oh,
the problem is flippers. Speculation and flipping are two completely separate things.
Yep.
A speculator is not buying top of market at eBay.
You
price.
dirty, greedy comic book guys.
Those are flippers. Difference. That said, speaking of craziness, have you seen what graded video games are selling for these days?
Oh,
yeah. This is another one that's kind of back when I was on Flipside. We kind of talked about some graded games, but this one also is crazy, and my kids would be like, hey, can you probably get me a graded Super Mario? And I'd tell them, you need to cut a lot of lawns and have a couple lemonade stands for that one, buddy.
Lemonade stands. You need like shopping malls and strip malls.
Yeah, that's it.
$1.5 million for a graded game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's not even a rare game.
No,
No, it's like not even close to rare.
Where
Just
did
the
that
fact that-
sell? I don't know much about
Heritage.
Yep.
And a 9.8, is that, I mean, similar to comics, is that considered the high?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I'm not
imagine
100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the graded video games to know if it's a 1-for-1, like a 9.8 for us as comics is a 9.8 for them in video games, but I imagine it's probably pretty close, especially with a price like that. I mean, they don't.
And how many
That
people
high
are
was
going to
just
look at
set,
the video
like-
games going, I got that.
Because what is Zelda sold like just not that long before, and was the previous high at like 800, 900,000?
800, yeah, 860,000 or something like that.
Yeah, just
I wonder who
exploding
has
these
this
graded
money.
video games. Just so they all can rebox them once CGC starts doing their graded video games, they can all get repackaged.
So I thought prices were high at C2E2 because I walking on the floor, there was a booth with glass cases down with sealed graded video games down there. And I'm like, oh man, this is another thing that I don't have time or money to get into, but I would love to get into having some of those games that I had growing up as a kid, right? And I remember walking by and looking, and I'm like, ooh, oh, wow, they're that much now? That was nothing. I should have bought everything in that booth there and then and would have quadrupled my money by now.
Yeah. How much is Pat Riley basketball for Sega Genesis going for?
I got one for you. So you said that games when you were a kid, right, Andy? I'm going to share my screen real quick. We talked about this the other night, and I pulled up some games that when I was a kid that were my favorite games. I mean, you could look at Nintendo, the original NES games. We all grew up on that, but my favorite system was Super NES by far. It was just had my top 3 favorite games of all Nintendo games of all time in it. This was one of them, and this was recent sales, which kind of blew me away. A beat up box version sold for almost $400, and then a sealed version of the gold label ones, which was like they put it out, was like $5,700, which is crazy to me. And then sorry, let me pull this up here. You guys are in the Matrix. This is Mega Man 10 in a graded a 90. Sold for $5,600. You guys remember this one, the X-Men Mutant Apocalypse? This one's crazy because they also gave out a Capcom comic with this one that is really cool. And these sales are absolutely bonkers. But some of the ones that really blew me away were games as a kid was Zelda. This is my favorite all-time video game, other than I got into World of Warcraft, which is just amazing. But up until this point, the Zelda for Super Nintendo, A Link to the Past, is one of the greatest video games ever. You can get an open version, but with everything in it for $800. That's not too bad, but that's
not too bad.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. So that actually was kind of crazy to me, just to look them up. But like you said, Andy, the prices are out of control, but these might be good prices to still buy in on and still make some money if you're looking at getting into it.
That's the scary part. Like it makes you think, where's the opportunity?
Yeah.
It's frightening, and it makes me want to learn, before, honestly, I saw that Mario World sale and I jumped on and I was like, what's GoldenEye at? What's GoldenEye at? And like, there's one that sold for $10K and there's some for $1, $2, $4K.
It's funny you say that, because as soon as Brian was like, this is my favorite Nintendo game, I immediately was thinking GoldenEye.
Yeah. But like, I want to learn more of the intricacies. I wish we could. Brian, can you guys work on getting some video game?
Yeah, there needs to be resources. How do you know if something's complete? Like, how do you know
if something hasn't been resealed?
Well,
that too.
One of the guys who was watching the other night made a comment about that. Shout out to Christopher Colbert. He said that in the Lionel Train collecting world, they actually X-ray unopened boxes to make sure everything is in there. That's crazy, right? And to the GoldenEye fact, you remember when like you had to make a rule at some point that nobody was allowed to be odd job because like you could just crouch as odd job and never get hit.
I love that.
Anyways.
Well, these prices don't surprise me too much. I think about the truth is like video games are here to stay and they're just growing, you know, and a lot of
look at
investors, esports, they're investing in esports as the possible next sports, you know, like how sports are going to die off and esports will take over. And the beauty of esports is anyone could be the champion. So it's like sort of more democratized. You don't have to be genetically, you know, blessed to be the champion, right? So that's happening.
Don't you still need to have good reaction time, good eyesight, and
but there's more. There's just more
skills.
people that can.
If you have Game Genie,
and and as a result, I mean, because like who's like the toy sales, right, and the comics and all that, it's us actually buying it, you know. But I see like future young people looking to get this stuff for video games indefinitely. I don't necessarily see that in toys and comics because I don't really see kids buying toys. I don't do kids go and buy the toy? I don't know. It's like I feel like it's more adults buying toys than kids.
Yeah.
And is that really sustainable in the long term? I don't know if it is.
No, my kids get toys for Christmas and they play with it for like a day and then they're playing video games.
Video games, yeah. And that's like we also talked about CGC, the buyout last week, and I did a whole video about it too, but how that's what's coming. Like they're just gonna grade comics, other stuff. I mean, not comics, video games, which already happened, right? It happened like after we talked about it. And because there's more money in there and there's more units they can grade and there's way more people buying
and
this
it's
stuff.
A quicker process.
And how many comic book buyers are there really? Like 100,000 maybe, like in actual active comic book buyers.
Give it a couple of years, man. For the time that I've been on YouTube and the time that I've been buying heavily, it's more than doubled, if not tripled in size as far as the active community members and people that are really buying comic books heavily. It just seems to continue growing.
Yeah. But the video games they're in the like the 100 million. Like it's like a magnitudes larger. It's like so much larger.
Also, people playing those games. I think the people who collect comics and toys unboxed and unopened are the ones buying the unopened video games, because I don't see why this generation would be that interested in an unopened video game, because they want it to play. Like their mindset different than ours.
And
we
I see that value in
generation that's different.
I see the value in those games going up as time goes on because we're transitioning to the digital games, and I think physical media that sooner or later is going to start declining. So that's why you're also seeing that rise in price of a graded, mint, unopened video game. So back in years down the road, our kids can be like, "What the hell is that?
What is this?"
Right? Yeah.
But if we're then are these good long-term investments? Like if we are actually just the only consumer, and if we don't have younger new consumers that are obsessed with buying these things, just like
we'll take a look at the Atari games and the collectability of those. That's just like 2 or 3 generations ahead of this. I guess that would be a good kind of barometer for where this could end up.
Atari sucks. Coleco is where to go.
What about Commodore 64? The floppies. We can get floppy disks.
Yeah, Wolfenstein on low density disc. There you go.
I was talking with a friend of mine, and I think I believe I'm the oldest in this crew. I beat you by a couple of years, Brian. But in some ways, I was talking to a friend that I grew up with. I really feel like I in the perfect time I remember being 4 and my uncle had like a Pong system, where you ping, ping, ping. And I had I was playing games when Atari and television and the switch to Nintendo. I got to every gaming system that's ever been created. I've gotten to play like excitedly as a kid. You know what I mean? So I do think I brought my kid to a science museum last year, and they had a touring section of the science museum about the history of video games. And it was awesome because they had a room for every kind of generation from the first all the way up to modern. and everything was free, so it was just a blast. But it really hit home after going through that how much history, like it is history. And you look at iPhones that are from 12 years ago that are worth thousands of dollars just because it's technology. It's not saying that everything is going to keep the value, like you're saying, Dan. Some of these, there's some IP from the old Atari days that people today just don't know what it is. Nobody knows what Dig Dug is anymore because it's not around anymore. Only a certain generation knows what Crazy
I do.
Climber
That's where I stole my dollar bin logo from.
Xevious is, or knows what
ET on the card.
what these little. But it doesn't mean they're not historical, and there's not any more of them out there. And there's the gaming world is $1 billion, just multi-billion-dollar, economy.
I like what you said though about growing up through it. Because think about it. You guys all remember Tecmo Bowl? You had 4 plays.
Yeah.
And now you go on to Madden, which has books upon pages of play. Like just
Tecmo Bowl
exponential
led to
growth
John
is-
Elway to Joe Montana Sports Talk, but Tecmo Bowl is still classic.
Tecmo
Yes.
Bowl is awesome, man.
Always pick Jerry Rice. Always go Hail Mary. Always go score a touchdown.
Either that or just hand it off to Bo or Barry.
Yes, yes.
Walter Payton.
As a flipper, though, what's next? That's my big question. What's next? Because if we had talked like this about games 5 years ago, probably would have bought some. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
What's next? Is it VHS tapes? I mean,
I'm
there's
hearing
some-
Some
rumblings.
years coloring books.
Yeah, VHS, Happy
Cassette
Meal
tapes.
toys.
I'll be honest. Last night I went online and I bought 3 copies of The Crow sealed on VHS for like $10 a piece. Why not?
Yep.
The tape
And
was
shout out
very
to
on-
David Boo, who has during that interview, he showed his VHS Never Ending Story tape signed by Atreyu.
I immediately went online and started looking. I watched
Dude,
I watched that earlier today.
I was like,
That scene
David
killed
Boo
me.
just bust out a VHS tape.
I got that little.
If I ever want to like be an actor and figure out something to cry about, I just go back. I just think of that scene when Atreyu is dying, or the horse is dying.
Spoilers, man.
But talking about video games, this kind of leads us into the next topic, right, Andy King, where we have a video game / comic book that turned into a movie and started production, right? Tell us about it.
Okay, yeah, I am stoked for this because HBO's Last of Us began production with a behind-the-scenes photo of the cast, and Pedro Pascal will be starring as the lead for Joel. And it escapes me the guy that shared the photo in the moment here. His name's right up there, right?
Yep.
I can't tell what that is.
Gabriel Luna.
Gabriel Luna.
So yes, thank you. Gabriel Luna will be playing his brother Tommy in the series. I am a Last of Us junkie. Thank you to Seawater19 if he's still in the chat watching. I'm a straight up junkie on this game. I think this it's gonna be more than just the game, obviously. I think this universe, this Last of Us universe, is a juggernaut waiting to hit and hit hard. Sure, comic book speculation rode the wave a little bit there. First talk of an option for this. The book did go up and it got quiet a little bit. It hit a little bit of a downtrend. And I found myself discovering the Last of Us universe in that trough, in that bottom. And I bought heavily. I can't stop playing the games. I cannot wait to see when this show comes out. And the fact that we're going to get to see some behind the scenes stuff as the production goes on. This is just stellar. This is like, I mean, we saw what Walking Dead did on AMC. We saw what Walking Dead and what the comic books happened. We're talking HBO. We're talking probably much better budget, much better production value going into this. If they land the acting, this is a juggernaut waiting to wake up. They are not stopping with the 2 video games and the 1 comic book series where they're at. This is only going to get started once the show hits, if the show does well. Everybody that's played the game, that's in love with the game, is clamoring for a 3rd game. It takes 6 to 8 years to make one of those games.
It takes so much time though.
It takes a ton of time, but they're going to focus on the show. I am super excited for that. I've got 2 of my books sitting right back here behind me that I cannot wait to continue buying these things up and collecting this. If you guys don't know what The Last of Us is, anybody here watching, comment down below, throw it in the chat that you haven't seen it yet or checked it out, or if you have played it through, say something. And I'm really curious on where you guys are at with this and what your exposure level is to this. Exposure level to this is like, I'm on cloud 9. This is like if I always played Resident Evil as a kid, wish it had better graphics, wish it had better writing, better production. It's the best of that. It's the best of The Walking Dead. It's the best of a lot of different dark, gritty, nasty. Like, you want to look at what humanity has to become to get through some of these events. Play that game, and you're gonna be jaw's gonna be hitting the floor in shock, just wondering how these people survive this. It is nuts. This is gonna draw so many more people into this universe when that show hits. It's gonna be crazy. So, McKay, sorry, I'm that excited.
McClay.
I was gonna say, Andy, I don't know why you hate this property so much. I think you should really give it a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McClay, man, I really got to know what you know, man.
Here's what I'll say. I don't know much about the video game other than that when people play it, they love it. I do know about those 2 books that you have behind you and how rare the one variant is and how hard it is to get in high grade. Super rare books, those books. So I'm very impressed that those are sitting behind you like that. I also think there's another super rare book that Peter recently did a show on, I believe, or talked about in a show. Isn't there a variant for The Last of Us that people are going after too?
There's a couple.
There's variant, and then there's some second printings also, I believe.
There's the ash can. There's the ash can that it's near impossible to find. I've been searching for over a year. Then there's that video game variant that was in that video game bundle that
video game one is super rare. Yeah. Maybe I'm getting that confused, Peter, with your Uncharted variant. Yeah, the Adam Hughes one. Yeah. But the one that comes with the video game, so hard to find in decent grade. It's so hard to find, period. But to find it in any decent grade without those horrible spine ticks because of the cover and the material the cover is made out of, crazy. I would love to walk into some place and see that, like in a flea market or somewhere in the back of a comic book bin.
Yeah, same with the Injustice is another one that the video game variant is.
But Dank, I gotta know your take on this, because what you know in your background, where you've been, I'm sure you've heard some things. I really want to hear your take on this.
All right, so first of all, I think I might be the only Korean American in North America that doesn't play video games. I never got into video games. So I know very little about this.
Not even from the writing or production or movie side of things?
I mean, it's, you never know with these things. I mean, I've seen projects like get a lot of heat and then they weren't as good as people expected, and that will collapse all the prices too, because that's always the risk, that the show isn't as good as everyone hopes. So sometimes hype can be dangerous, Yeah,
especially because that game's so gorgeous, and I hope they carry over the soundtrack, right? Because I think the music plays a lot into that video game as well. I'm happy about this. I'm glad they made it a show, because in 2015 it originally was optioned as a movie around that time frame where we saw that first spike, right? And both games are great. I tend to like the first game a little bit better than the second. That's just me. But great character building. Lots of action. It ties well into Uncharted, which is what we just talked about that book previously, and that's in production right now with Tom Holland. I like seeing these video game properties that have a comic property are being tied into media now. I think The Witcher definitely helped that. There's some stuff that came before, but I think The Witcher definitely opened a lot of doors. One property that is, if Andy is for Last of Us over here, one property that I'm big about that I'm dying for is God of War, right? I mean, I've been hoarding, picking up those books, especially that 2010 series. I think if it were to get picked up, I think they would use the more recent Dark Horse series that ties his son, and you get that father-son dynamic and ties into the more recent game. But I think Tony's even mentioned this also, where video games, even going into the graded games, but video games is kind of something that's on the rise, and as it hits different demographics and floats into different collectible hobbies between comics and media and video games itself, I think there's something there because you have a wider audience to hit. And as Andy says, that Last of Us series, that those print runs weren't very big at all.
They're tiny. They're tiny. And this is a great segue to talk to Tony about this really quick, because I know Tony has an ability to find almost anything online. And I really want to know, man, where are you at with this book? Is this on your radar? And have you been keeping an eye on it? Because like the Ash Can, it's just nuts trying to find any of this stuff. I mean, we're talking print runs smaller than Saga. And Saga had a small print run.
Yeah.
I agree with Peter's head nod there. Yeah,
it was like 30-some thousand Saga. It was heavily promoted. Just the demand was much higher than what they had.
Right. I'm going to disappoint you, Andy, because I'm kind of in the same boat as Brian and Dan. I have not played the game. You know, having a 7 and a 9-year-old, and I've been out of the loop on a lot of the last 10 years of the big video game properties. I have not been hunting this down. I know what I know about comics, but I don't know everything, and I focus on the stuff that I'm good at or the stuff that I'm specialized at. So, Andy, you are the expert when it comes to The Last of Us here, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think those opinions speak a lot to it because you got it when it's in that niche where the gamers might know it, but the comic people might, and the comic book people that do know it from, like as Brian was saying, previously when it caught buzz. So if it catches heat and kind of spreads, you've got that head start, and you have 2 copies already behind you.
Yeah.
So
There's a bunch of video game books, though. Brian, you hit a few of them already when you were talking, but the video game comic adaptations, especially the Wildstorm ones from like that 2010 range, a bunch of them are worth money. The Ratchet and Clanks are worth money. The Modern Warfare Ghost miniseries,
old Archie Sonics.
Yeah, exactly. The Sonics from Archie, even the IDW ones have a lot of rare incentive variants that people like to go and chase those things down too. Video game comics as a subgenre have really been, moving up a lot lately.
Yeah,
I mean,
the newer Titan ones, right? Like Horizon Zero Dawn, those can be picked up for cheap. I think there's going to be a lot more video games adapted into movies and TV shows, especially as you start. If Last of Us is successful, it's just going to. Hollywood is not that original. They find something that works and they just keep doing it, right? But you're seeing a bunch of reboots right now. Valiant Mario, another great book.
Well, they did try video games for a while. Now, you remember in the 90s, they tried doing all those video games movies in the 90s, and they just didn't. They never found the formula.
I think the rarest ones, though, are the giveaways, like the free giveaways, like the Mortal Kombat free giveaway, the book that we just talked about earlier, the Mutant Apocalypse free giveaway, the Resident Evil free giveaway,
Maximum Carnage.
Carnage. Yep. I mean, those free giveaways, they weren't made of the best quality, and they were super, super red and folded and flipped around and all that type of stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of, but here's one that I think people are sleeping on the most. 100% Nintendo Power. Yep. People do not talk about Nintendo Power too much. I mean, the real crazy guys like Topher, who loves looking at Nintendo Powers for first appearances and stuff, talk about them. But that first Nintendo Power and that first the one that they gave away free at the I think it was at San Diego Comic-Con one year, the first issue before the issue came out, they gave it away to everybody to see if people liked it, and it actually says a free giveaway on it instead of poster inside. Those ones though are super, super rare. But not only that, if you want to get before that, there was these things that Nintendo sent away in the mail to people that were like the first Nintendo Powers that had comics in them and everything. So if you can find those are crazy. I think people are really sleeping on those.
And I want to know what the opposite, the reverse side of that, where you have comics that covers the homage video games, like you mentioned San Diego, the DuckTales that you had a fun time. What was it, getting CBCS?
Yeah, they sent it right back to me. They didn't even look at it. They just sent it straight back to me, and with no nothing. Like they didn't even want to grade it. Yeah. So,
but you've seen like the Deadpool, anything that has those like 8-bit Nintendo homage covers usually Even if some sustain, but usually you'll get a spike at least when they come out.
Yes.
We've talked
I want to
about
know
a
what
lot of
I want to know what
about a lot
Peter's
of different properties and different lists of different books that have popped, but there's a lot out there. I mean, there's a lot of properties that have been made that I would call an opportunity. You know, Hotline Miami. I think that's going to be a great IP. It's going to be a great TV show or movie whenever that's made. That's out there. You know, just silly late '90s stuff. Earthworm Jim. You know, there's a lot out there.
Yep. I want to know what Peter's experience, if any, is all with this, because Saga, like you said, 30,000. I still feel, compared to what I go after, a lot of times 30,000 doesn't feel like a lot. This is a lot smaller than that. And have you run into any of these issues?
Last of Us, no. Last of Us, I've looked, especially, I still remember when you did your video when you had got your 9.8, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I want one too. And I looked and went, I can't afford one. I'm not getting one too. That said, yeah, The Last of Us, I've looked, but those are tough. Those are tough. I've had much more success, again, like I said, looking for the Wildstorm stuff lately, and even some of the other Dark Horse stuff, because God of War also went to Dark Horse, I think, after they did the first Wildstorm run, they did Dark Horse. But a lot of these video game stuff is the stuff that I'd like to look for. I mean,
right.
I did video games last week on one of my live shows with Marco, and we were talking about the Captain N books, because like the Valiant, Nintendo books where you get the first, Marios and things like that in the comics, but Captain N, there was a lot of fun books in that run too. It's just, there's so much out there that I think that's, comic collectors are starting to run out of things that they like, so they're looking for weirder niche. Everybody's looking for their own little niche collection, because they want to be like, you know what, I want to be the guy who collects this, or I want to be the guy who collects that, because with all the store variants and everything getting flooded into our regular market, it's too tough to keep up with everything. So finding a nice small corner that you can call your own is a lot more comforting, I think, for a lot of people these days.
God of War. Well, that's like that mantra that you guys have always stated, you'll buy what you love and you'll love what you buy.
Yeah.
That's exactly like what Dank said. If Last of Us fails and bottoms out, I'm still going to love all of my Last of Us copies because of how much I'm in love with that universe.
As you
and
should.
The way it draws me in.
As you should. I still need to play that game, by the way. I have it. I'm just so far behind on video games. I haven't turned either of my systems on since the pandemic really started, because I just been doing this stuff too much.
You won't put it down. Trust me. You won't.
I hope it's sealed. Keep it sealed.
I do have a lot of sealed games.
I mean, really, we're talking about all these games, but really, like, it's the games we want. No, I mean, like, because the way they're jumping in price is sort of beyond. I mean, because that Mario 64, that's from 98 or something, or 96, 90, something like that, and it's worth almost the price of Action Comics 1. I mean, not almost, but it's like really high. And Action Comics, that's from 1938.
Yeah.
Just when you look at it, the scheme of things.
How many do you think are of that Mario 64 really are? Because I think that was more of like the console game, the game that came with the console. So how many individually, sold of that one would there be? You know what I mean? Wasn't that one of the original for the N64? That was also one of my favorite systems. To go with what McClay said. Like, I love playing Chrono Trigger and a bunch of stuff that was on the Super NES, but that's the tricky bit with some of these
12
games.
million. He's this Bolo saying 12 million
copies. Yeah.
Well,
but finding one that's still unopened and in that kind of shape, I guess, is not that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving
Storage lockers.
on to our last topic. We all know tomorrow is Wednesday, and sadly, it is the final episode of Loki. We've talked a lot of Loki on this show with some great, I think it's been well received. It's a lot of people's favorite Disney Plus Marvel show, and I've really enjoyed it. So we're coming to an end. I will tell you, for those that haven't caught up on the series so far, there might be possible spoilers. Most likely, there absolutely is going to be some damn spoilers. So just so you're aware,
you had a week. It's your fault.
But we have the final episode, and we're getting what are y'all's theories? How do you think it's going to end? You're hearing Dan brought it up early. What his whole process of what he thought the storyline. It's kind of leading to what Dan had talked about, right?
Yeah.
Dan, why don't you kick us off and then bring us up to
Yeah,
speed on your
well, the-
theory and where we are at?
Well, the rumors are everywhere, you know. So some people think it's Doom, some people say Immortus, some people
Yeah,
say it's
that's-
King. And yeah, and long time by like after episode 1, I kind of I thought it was might be King, and that the TVA was the one timeline that he created, and the multiverse is the natural state. So it's just trying to bring back the natural state. But I will say, Michael Waldron, he's from Rick and Morty, and they follow Dan Harmon's story circle. And I'm a writer, I'm a creator, so usually these writers are trained to seed all these things, like the ending, to seed it from the beginning. And I honestly, they didn't really seed King well, and like a lot, as in terms of writing and writing good story or whatever, and the structure of a lot of mass media. So I'm starting to second guess whether it is King, right? Because like right now, based on just writer's circle, Dan Harmon's writing circle of how to write a story, I would guess just based on that it's another Loki variant.
Yeah.
That just feels more correct in terms of the story and what they've been seeding and building, and thematically, it matches thematically. And that's how these like heroes' journeys work.
And you think it's going to tie into the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie? Because isn't that screenplay also written by him?
But yeah, it definitely is. I mean, because there was an original script, and they remade it totally. They actually reset the whole movie for Michael Waldron, because I guess Feige saw something incredible with Waldron, who comes from Rick and Morty, that he can pull off these multi-layered world-building epic stories. So like, we want you to do it instead, I think. And yeah, I think it could lead into something there. And if there's a cameo from Kang, that might make sense. You know, cameo of Doctor Doom or Kang, but it's not that Kang was the catalyst necessarily. Only because I know how these writers usually think and structure their stories. So I would be really surprised if it was Kang now at this point, because it's just they just haven't seeded it enough. I mean, those little Easter egg clues that everyone's like obsessing over, that's not how writers seed story. You know, that's not a writer's thing.
Yeah, I still think Kang's involved.
Yeah,
I think
I want to think.
I don't think he's going to show up, though. I don't think we're going to see any appearance. I think outside of maybe a mention of his name or even a reference to Immortus or something like that is at best, because it probably is just another Loki variant sitting in that castle, to your point of the story being wrapped up and told. But this isn't just the story of this. This has to build to the next thing. So just like in the first Avengers, where Loki was the bad guy, in essence, it wasn't until Thanos was revealed to be the guy behind the guy that, you know, things like, oh, we have a lot more on the way. So that's why I think Kang is our guy behind the guy, where Loki gets to sit in his little castle. He gets to run this little fiefdom that he has, and he's happy with that, his kingdom. But he's still not the guy. There's still a guy who helped him get there. And I think that guy is Kang for this phase that we might be getting into.
Yeah, it also tells you will they do that? You know, how much do they have invested in Disney Plus, where they would reveal that in, you know, a Disney Plus show versus a movie.
And like Thanos, that's how Thanos was seeded. You know, he little cameos. You know, and then finally Thanos comes, but they never had a film where Thanos was the main player until we got to the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War.
That's what I mean. We're going to seed it. We're going to seed it to Doctor Strange, and even when we get to Ant-Man, it's not going to show him until Ant-Man, which is like 2023. So we still got well over a year till we're going to see him. But seeding the idea of him is still possible. And Disney Plus basically is the Marvel universe and has been for the last year and a half.
But you remember how they seeded Thanos
in Avengers? Was it Avengers?
End credit scene, right? At the first Avengers, right?
Right.
So Jonathan
or
Majors
you want to go back to
got
Thor when they went through the. Yeah, they saw the gauntlet when they were walking through Odin's trophy room. They had that in there too. So
Jonathan Majors is going to be in 5. He's got 5 contractual obligations for Marvel, right? To be in 5 live action things. So I think you're 100% right where Loki is the bad guy at the end of this. I think it's going to be that we still haven't seen that scene from the trailer where King Loki is in his throne room. And they actually, I think Marvel put out another thing about it, showing in that scene that Walt Simonson's one of those people in the scene, right? So they gave him like, you know, a little Easter egg in that scene, but we still haven't seen that scene happen. And it just seems so plausible that they showed that scene, how it starts. It's a widescreen that goes in on his throne and you see him walking out, right? So I could see that happening, but I see that Loki figured out a way to get into that castle. Maybe that castle was already there. Kang's out doing something that could be Kang's castle. And Loki just figured it out. And that's, you know, a Loki is always the guy that survives and figures out how to get out of something. So that's why Lokis are so dangerous in the time stream, that type of thing. But you also, here's the other thing. You remember, there's a season 2 of Loki coming. So they're setting up a lot for season 2 of Loki. They're just seeding in all these Kang things because Kang is going to be, in my opinion, the big bad for, you know, multiple projects that they're going to talk about. Because if they did bring somebody in specific to rewrite the multiverse stuff to be world building topics, and you remember Rick and Morty is all about time travel and all that crazy stuff, it's perfect for Kang. And here's the other thing. If you remember, Kang was, in the comics, Kang, they brought in Kang at one point to go search out the Scarlet Witch, because the Scarlet Witch was such a powerful Nexus being that they needed this time. The Timekeepers needed Kang to go kill her. Well, who's going to be in Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange? Scarlet Witch. Ooh. So that's my thoughts. I think that they're still building that Kang as a bad guy like they did Thanos, but he's definitely not going to be like the guy at that castle.
They might, or they defeat the Loki variant that like initiate this whole plot, and then Kang just pops in at the end. He's like, "All right, my turn," or something like that. Something.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's too early to see some big scene with Jonathan Majors in it, but there's, you know, people compare it to Mephisto from WandaVision, Omega Red from Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is just a bunch of BS again. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, we have Renslayer is Kang's love interest. She's a major character in this show. We're talking about, I mean, the whole show is centered around time. That's his arena. If we have a master of time and it's not Kang, then what are they going to do for a Kang?
Don't forget the smoke monster from Lost.
Right, exactly.
The smoke monster.
So I think I think there'll be breadcrumbs on the way. I have no idea what to expect. You couldn't guess what's happening on any of these shows. I mean, who would have guessed that basically Enchantress is what's the word? Amalgam character where they mash two of them together and then she'll just be in the, you know, maybe they'll call her Enchantress or, you know, going off so she can be in her own character going forward. You never know. I think they do need to have seeds, like you were saying, Dan. But they do set things up. Like WandaVision set up White Vision going forward. WandaVision set up the Darkhold going forward. WandaVision set up the Multiverse of Madness movie. Falcon and the Winter Soldier set up the future of Captain America. It set up, you know, this is going to set something up. We're going to see some
multiple things,
right? That lead out of this. But I have no idea what that will be.
And definitely, though, all the shows, they don't just introduce deep cuts comic shit at the end suddenly, because they're not made for. These shows are not really designed for comic book enthusiasts. They are made for the mainstream 90% of America audience.
But it's not the showrunners that get to choose what that deep cut end credit scene is going to be. That's basically the advertisement that the studio or Disney's going to tell them, we're putting this in at the end. Because
but they'll
that's
also
our
tell
next
them,
thing.
You know, it can't be too random because you're going to lose people. You know, right.
Let us know in the chat what you guys think, and then if you're watching this on the replay, comment and let us know what you think. Of course, Loki comes tomorrow, so watch it on the replay. You might have already watched Loki, but either way, great conversation. I'm sure we'll have other follow-on conversations
in like 5 hours.
MCU. We still haven't even touched Black Widow in this show. We're kind of that 2-week spoiler alert type thing. I'm sure we'll be talking about Black Widow here just as well. But those are our topics. We also have new comic book days tomorrow, fellas. And as we always do, we're going to go around and each one pick their one book coming out tomorrow that they like for new comic book day. I already gave mine. If Drew Cantor's still in the chat, Canto 3, Lionhearted #1, hitting store shelves. Always love me some Canto. And like I said, check out that interview just did with David Booher, Drew Zucker on the channel. Awesome interview, a lot of information. Lala Schultze, Canto #1 fan, joined us in that conversation. Great time, some great jokes. A lot of people going at each other on there a little bit, but yeah, McClay, what are you most excited for tomorrow for new comic book day?
Come back around to me.
Okay, we'll go with El Beardo Jefe.
You come right to me. Hey, you stole my thunder with
You
Canto.
can say it.
Lionhearted. I'm really looking forward to that because I actually got my email from my LCS. I got the 1 in 10 and the 1 in 25 ratios waiting for me there tomorrow, and I cannot wait because Drew and George Corona, I believe it is, have been killing those variants when they put those out. Those are fantastic. But you promised me Darkness #4 is out tomorrow. I cannot wait to see where that's going. And Eve 3 is out tomorrow. I can't pick just one this week. Eve 3 is going to be good.
Hank.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just name a couple. So I'll say Bunny Mask 2.
Ooh.
Because I want to see if they keep it creepy. Like, how creepy is this? Like, because that first issue was very creepy and also left us in a flashback, flash forward, True Detective style, multiple versions of the story thing. And I want to see if they can execute this, because the setup I think was great. And I'm just, issue 2 is always about like, man, can they keep it up? So yeah,
like you said, and even Jack on here said previously, many a times is that second issue. A lot of times you see a 40% drop off in print run.
Yeah,
Very true.
so I definitely want it to be really good, and that way, the multiple copies I bought will be worthwhile, I guess.
Well, really, I know you do a lot of dollar bin digging, but since you probably won't be with stores putting signs up for eBay checking for new comic book day, what's your pick for tomorrow?
Well, I'm just gonna see if I can find any of. I think they got 4 later printings of the Nottingham books tomorrow. So if I can find any of them, I'll be pretty happy. But a lot of shops didn't order the first prints, let alone the later prints. So it's a tough book to find in the stores, but it's something I like looking for. So if I can find any of those later printings tomorrow, I'd be happy.
Anthony, Mr. Fix It.
Yes. If I'm wearing my seller hat, there's not really any big ones that I'm expect. I mean, there will be something that pops really quick, but nothing that I've got my eye on. So if I'm gonna pick a book, it's probably gonna be Eve #3. If you haven't been reading, and people say this all the time, and everybody rolls their eyes. There's a million books out there, but if you haven't been reading Eve, you should go pick that up. If you haven't been speculating on Eve, those cover A's of #1 are still around $10, which is quite reasonable.
Even the second prints.
Boom Studios. I mean, Ross Ritchie, you've got an Android teddy bear. I'm going to go out on a limb and say in the next 3 months, we hear some option news, some Hollywood actor, producer who gets the rights to turn it into a
They have the bear from Ted.
I was gonna say it'd be Ted 3.
Yeah, you've got to just it checks all the boxes. I think it's gonna be one we talk about for a while.
Yeah, I agree. That's been a great series, and we talked about it in Final Word Cut Off a couple times. And I also agree where that's the thing about Boom Studios is you got a few series that get a lot of attention. I think there's a lot of other great series that aren't getting as much attention for the time being.
Fair point.
McClay.
All right. For the flipper type part of me, there's a Champions book. I think it's Champions 8 that's coming out that has a really interesting like 8-bit style cover. that has Miles on it, and Kamala Khan and Riri and all those great Champions characters. But for pure reading aspect, that Mouse Guard, Owl Hen Caregiver #1, I always loved Mouse Guard back in the day. I thought it was one of the best books in comics when it initially came out, and really great idea. So good that I think Michael Avon Emming totally ripped it off with his Mouse series. So I'll be interested to see what that new Mouse Guard storyline is about.
Gone through the new comic book day, which is only going to leave us, Andy, with what? Everyone's one more thing. All right, one more thing where each panelist talks about whatever they want to talk about. They get the platform, and they're going to talk about one more thing they have, whether it's what's coming up on their channel, what they're writing about, anything they want to talk about. It could be like, hey, I heard the McRibs coming back. Let's get it. But either way, one more thing. Andy King, we'll start with you tonight.
Hey, one more thing. Be sure you guys are checking out everybody's channels links down below. Check out their content, subscribe to them, support them, help continue to build this community, because there's lots of great content coming from Dank Comics, from Renovision, from Blue Green Artifacts, from McClay and the guys over at Tales from the Flip Side. I get too excited. And while you guys are down there, click on the Comic Man Andy link and head over to the channel, hit subscribe, and join that road to 1,000 subscribers, where we're only like 51 subscribers away from hitting that. And there's a stack of, I think we're up to 10 slabs to give away now, and I'm going to continue adding. That's going to be exciting because we're celebrating 2 years on YouTube for the old Comic Man Andy there, and it's going to be a blast.
Wow. Dan.
Yeah, so I was wearing sandals to the beach, and then I realized, like, oh man, I can't drive well in these sandals. So I took them off. I was driving barefoot, right? Okay, and I fell in love with it, man. Every time I get in that car, I take my shoes off. You just feel everything better, you know. Like the control is so precise, everything's smoother, and I can't. Barefoot driving. It's all about barefoot driving.
You get those wrestling shoes, like the race car driver shoes, so you can feel the.
I think people are missing out, and also seeded watermelons. I bought a seeded watermelon this week, and it was so sweet, and it brought me back all that 80s and 90s goodness. That all these and they're sweeter actually. I looked this up. They're actually sweeter in general, but they're hard to find now because it's all seedless watermelons. Folks, go back to the seed watermelons. Let's look for those because. And then eventually we'll grade those and sell those because, there's that nostalgia is coming back. Get ready for that, Think ahead, look ahead.
Dan's all about the seeds tonight. He's talking about seeds in Loki, talking about seeds in watermelons.
And bare feet in the house, too, because you can sit on the floor, There's no 5-second rule anymore. You can.
Rena.
I'm still stuck on the seeds, trying to wonder if they stop all the seeds in the watermelons, how do they make more watermelons? My mind's in this weird loop.
99% of turkeys are artificially inseminated because they've been bred with breast meat so big they can't actually have sex anymore. So if we stopped artificially inseminating turkeys, they would be gone within a year, like almost all of them.
Your public service announcement for the day.
We're going to gobble that one up.
Please stay and neuter your pets.
I just had a 700 subscriber giveaway, and it's only been a week, and we're already at 760. So I'm getting pretty close to 800. So keep on subscribing. I got more stuff to give away every 100.
Wow.
I'm going to do another giveaway and throw some more books out to the community and put more in my pile for 1,000. Like Andy's got a huge pile. I don't know if I'm going to be able to match that, but I got a pile starting for my 1,000. And tomorrow, we got another live show with me and Marco. We're going to be going back to X-Men and talking about a few things. Maybe even talking about Loki if I can watch it during the day. But other than that, just having fun talking comics, right?
Tony with his child-size hat.
My one more thing is, Peter, I feel personally attacked with your comments about the niche collectors looking for some random stupid thing to buy in. As you're saying that, I'm looking to my left at my giant pile of Lego Mania magazines.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not denigrating it at all.
We got, Star Wars. Yeah. So, no. Yeah, you got to have it's a hobby, right?
Yeah, I buy old toy fairs and wizards. Like, what good is that?
I think that's great. I love how Tony's always picking out like the like you said, the niche one-off stuff, like the turntable covers he brought out. I think.
Well,
That's
it's
right.
funny you talk about that because that is my what is it? What's the segment again?
One more
Sorry.
thing.
That is my one more thing because of Tony and his niche collecting. He brought up this book in a recent Modern Playbook episode on Tales from the Flip Side, and I had to go buy one. So I bought the Banksy homage of Department of Truth because of Tony and his niche collecting. So thank you, brother.
Nice. I love that book.
So my one more thing is I had the opportunity to be a guest and record this past weekend on another YouTuber, another great guy in the comic book community. He's got a smaller channel, but he's got some great content on there. Small Town Collectibles. He has this thing where he's doing 10 questions right now, where he's grabbing other people from the community, and you sit down and you talk. He asks you 10 questions. You answer the 10 questions. And you do a lightning round that goes up on Instagram. But Small Town Collectibles, make sure you check them out on YouTube, check them out on Instagram. And it's one more last thing. If you're a Skybound, if you're an Image fan, Skybound Expo is going on this weekend, July 17th, 18th, online. Make sure you guys check that out. I just had Attack Peter, who's doing collaboration. I did an interview with him on this channel. He's got some great prints, but he's got an Invincible number 19 Battle Beast variant that's going to be part of that Comics Vault Live show during the expo. Big Sean Kirkham, check them out. But Skybound Expo, check that out. July 17th, 18th this weekend. Go to skybound.com, RSVP. That way you get emailed the link. It's going to be a great show. There's going to have some other stuff going on there, some other announcements. So if you're an Image fan, Skybound fan, make sure you guys check that out. With that being said, guys, this is Brian, Andy, Dan, Peter, and Tony, Simple Man's Comics. This has been Comic News Weekly. We'll see you guys next week live, 9 p.m. Eastern.
She pull up, hop out, then she swerve. Do your two-step, your little catwalk, make it work. Make it work, Jill dance, make it work. Strike a pose, make it work, Jill dance, make it work. Strike a pose.